Good evening, everybody. It's Adrian Bridge joining you once again from the gardens here at Taylor's with these rather fine exotic palms behind me. You might, during the course of this next half an hour, hear a squawk from the Taylor's peacock as he is on the terrace behind me with his feathers bright and shiny. So if we do get him coming by making a lot of noise, I'll try and put him on Instagram live as well. But it's a great privilege for me tonight to welcome Robin Lail to this conversation. Robin is a sixth generation Napa Valley wine producer. She is Napa royalty in the sense that she has been involved in so many iconic projects over the years, and Robin has graciously decided to join us today. I know that she's been very busy because she's recently been on the front cover, I think, of the Wine Spectator, who've been telling everybody about your extraordinary story. Robin, it is wonderful to see you. How are you today?
I'm so well, thank you, Adrian, and it is really grand to see you as well. I like your garden.
Thank you very much. We normally at this time of the day we'll probably still have it full of tourists, but it's taking a little bit of time to bring that part of the business back. But nonetheless, we're busy exporting. But you have had a number of very exciting projects in your life, and I know that you are helping with the Porto Protocol, where you have taken a powerful leadership position there in the United States. I want to talk about that a little bit later, but before we get to that, I really want to talk about your extraordinary career, because you have done amazing things with Inglenook and then other projects. Tell us how it all started for you in the wine business.
Well, it started in my receiving blanket when I came home from the hospital, Adrian. So my had founded Inglenook in 1879. And in European terms, that's the blink of an eye, but in California terms, a little bit longer, perhaps. And my dad was the third generation owner and manager of Inglenook. And so I had the joy of growing up on that beautiful property with that extraordinary man who was such a leader in the wine business, not only in Napa Valley, but in California as well. And who indeed, like my great-granduncle Gustav Niebaum before him, made legendary wines. Just due to some family issues, I was never, pardon me, never groomed to take over the winery, which was a great sadness because my father, when I was a young girl, always said that he saw himself as the caretaker of this legacy, which was generational by that point, but there were just problems, and so that didn't happen. So when the winery was sold in 1964, I wanted nothing to do with the wine business. I had been connected to the greatest winery in California at that time. So there was no way within a space of one generation I could possibly try to mimic that and bring it back. Well, things happened, you know. So my father passed away in 1970. I took over management of the vineyards at that time, which my mother proceeded to sell. And then I went to work for Robert Mondavi. And my dad was Robert Mondavi's mentor in the wine business. And those two men shared the vision that Napa Valley could produce wines second to none in the world. And they set out to prove it. So Robert Mondavi became my mentor. I was his executive slash secretary. And I had a secretarial job like no other. And he proceeded to train me for 5 years. He wanted me to get back in the business. Following that, I had an opportunity to start the first auction in Napa Valley, which has raised over $200 million for local education for children and other things. And so in 1982, I had the wonderful chance to co-found
Tell us,
then
Robert. Sorry,
go ahead.
if I can, well, I'd love to hear a little bit more about why you decided to set up the Napa Valley Wine Auction, because, as you say, it has been such a positive force for good in raising money for charities for so many years. I mean, that was a very pioneering step.
Well, it was, and it wasn't my step, to be honest with you. No, I have to be honest with me also. But actually, that came from a luncheon. Robert Mondavi had been appointed as a capital campaign director, not director, but implementer for a $7 million capital campaign. And at that time, the wine business was still very small in Napa Valley. It was a big ask. And so we had a person over for lunch who was a great target, and she said she'd like to do a party for the vintners. She'd like to do an auction. So in actuality, it was her idea. That was Pat Montandon. But at the same time, Margaret Mondavi said immediately, "Oh, this could be like the Hospice de Beaune." And there were no wine auctions in the United States, period, at the time. And so that's where the idea came from. And the idea was a three-legged stool, actually, Adrian. So the idea was, one, to do a charitable auction for local charities. Two, to involve the community at large more in the wine business, because there's sort of this imaginary line used to exist between Napa and the Upper Valley. And three, to promote the Napa Valley appellation. So that was the direction. It remains the direction today. It's very exciting. And as you know, this thing is like a poplar tree or an aspen, and it's thrown so many adjuncts. There are thousands of wine auctions around the United States and a few abroad as well.
Fantastic. But then now you went on from doing all that to be involved in Dominus, I believe. I think that was your next big project. Is that right? With Christian?
Yes, it was. And again, another amazing, as you might just guess, an amazing education, and another deep dive into, let's say, the intense passion of the business and an intense passion for the land. And so that was wonderful. And when my father's estate was settled, I was able to keep one piece of land, which he had liked very much. And that was Napa Vineyard, which was 125 acres vineyard. And so that became my sister's and my contribution to the Dominus Partnership. And Christian came with, obviously, his wonderful contributions of both cash and his fabulous profile.
And I think it's with that you've created your Lail Vineyard wines. I think you've also brought your daughters into the business as well. So the generations continue.
They do indeed. And not only that, I'm so pleased to tell you that we're hopefully subtly, but not very subtly, actually, trying to bring the grandchildren in also at a very early age. And so how did we do that? Well, we have names for each of them. And the youngest, may I just tell you a very quick story?
Yes, please.
So the youngest is named Welly, and when she found out that she was 6 years old. When she found out that we were going to name a wine for her, and she has her very own label, she dictated a note to me, to her mother, and it said, "Dear Gigi," that's "Dear Gigi, I am so thrilled that you are making a wine in my honor. But Gigi, I want to ask you a favor. Could I please taste the wine before it leaves the barrels?" So there you are.
What a fantastic
So
story. And that was at what age? That was at the age of 6, you said.
the age of 6.
That's
Yes.
extraordinary, extraordinary stuff. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? Because that brings in the 8th generation. Is that right?
I'd like it to be 8th, but it's only 6th.
Okay. Okay. So tell me, obviously you've been very busy, but your project has clearly continued to win awards, and I know you've got a number of hectares that you're farming at the moment. We saw you on the front cover of the Wine Spectator, so you must have been quite pleased to have the recognition further by being put on the front cover and people getting a chance to discover more about your wines.
It was, quite honestly, Adrian, I very large honor. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world that are this, and only 12 covers a year. So I I thought it was a sweet honor. And another nice thing that happened as a part of that was that a friendship that I had with Marvin Shanken, which dated from the beginning of the wine auction, which was in 1981, blossomed once again. And he sent some lovely notes, and it was just one of those wonderful surprises. It
Well,
was lovely.
well,
Thank you.
congratulations. As you say, there aren't many people who have a chance to be on the cover of such a well-known magazine, and congratulations to you, and it's thoroughly deserved. But I want to also now switch, if we can, a little bit to talking about sustainability, because I know that's something very dear to your heart, and you have been very graciously supporting the Porter Protocol and leading in the United States with that initiative. So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with sustainability in your own property?
Well, I can. And our property is quite small. I don't know if you know that, but we only own 6 acres, not even hectares, acres of vineyard in 2 different parcels. We make a single wine from each of those parcels. But, just because we started this project in a rather thinly capitalized way, Lail, that chases you for a number of years. Hence,
Yeah.
my best are still a gleam in my eye. But in spite of the fact that it's a lot of land, it's very important to me to treat that land with great respect and even reverence, if you will. And so we are, and I'm a bit slow in coming to the party, but we're doing a carbon farming project that I'm very excited about. We are one parcel surrounded by a bit of forest, which is obviously very helpful in terms of carbon sequestration. And I must say to you, Adrian, that the growers of Napa Valley and the vintners are protected. And we have been, as a group, farming for our grandchildren for years and years. And now, there's still some naysayers. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, how can you possibly be a naysayer? Just looking at the impact of the coronavirus and what it did to the sky over and what it did to the canals in Venice in 2 months. And you
Yeah.
can say, well, we have no effect. Well, good for you. But so it's very important to me to try to do, even with our small parcels of land, the best that we can. And I'm in concert with, we have a farming company, which is Silverado Vineyards, who also belong to the Porter Protocol. And I'm so pleased to tell you that when I invited them to join the Porter Protocol, they said, yes, they would. And not only that, but when I started working with them on a farming plan for these small acreages, they indicated that they intended to treat farming for all the acreage that they manage, which is some 800 acres, huge win in a giant battle. And I really hope that people, people, if you talk to people about change, they have a tendency to shut down. And they have a tendency, I believe, to shut down because it's such a vast subject and because it's so important and so frightening. And the point that I always have to make when I'm talking with anybody about this topic, climate change, is that they must understand that and good, whatever it is, there's nothing that's too small, and it all counts.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think you, as you're saying, you may only have a small number of acres, but they're important acres. And every single little bit helps, because only if we all sort of work together and everybody is adding their land and all doing as much as they possibly can we make a difference. But importantly, the purpose behind the Porter Protocol is sharing. So it's important to understand that you don't have to be an enormous company to have experience that you can share with others. We can all learn from each other, big or small. And I think that's kind of the energy from which we want from the Porter Protocol, and what you've been so good in pioneering over there.
Well, it's another passion for me. I'm honored to be working with you. I consider it a huge honor, and I am so thrilled with the steps that have taken and forward move of the protocol itself. You have two very wonderful women working for the foundation now who are really superb and outstanding, Christina and Marta. I don't know if you remember, Adrian, but one of the things that I hope to be effective to do is to create a larger and larger membership. And the reason behind that is not only what we're doing, but also the idea of creating a loud voice. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I seriously believe that in order to do the kinds of things that really need to be done on a pervasive basis are going to have to be done on to the people. And so a loud voice, I believe, is extremely important.
No, I completely agree. I mean, it's interesting because, a few years ago, I started a different project, which was called Pro Douro. So it's trying to look after professional farmers in the Douro. And we just went over 5,000 hectares of people who are adhering to that, which is a very interesting landmark from considering where we started with very little. And I think all it does is, as you say, is it brings together more people, it amplifies everybody's voice. But critically, to me, this whole point of being able to share best practice and learnings from across the world, and Marta and Christina have done a great job. They're putting, we've shifted, as you know, the business model a little bit away from the idea of doing a big conference, which nowadays with coronavirus, we simply don't know whether or when that might be able to happen again, to doing these more frequent conversations and on Zoom is the main platform they're done on. But they are now, the next one I think is on the 17th of June. We're going to be talking about sustainable energy. We're going to be looking at what wind, solar, geothermal can do, and importantly, how that can be applied to big and to small companies. So there's the whole process, I hope now will roll forward with these frequent opportunities to exchange information. As you say, the benefit of that is that the more we can help people realize that the Porter Protocol can be of value to them, the more people will join, and therefore the more value it is to everybody. So it's this positive circle which we're trying to build, and you've been very, very helpful in leading that in the United States. We don't have very much time, and typically on these calls, we do get a moment to see what it is you're drinking and to ask whether you've actually got a glass of wine in front of you.
Voila!
Voila! What is it? Tell us about it.
Well, it is, let's see if we can get it here.
Yeah,
It
that looks
is
beautiful.
our flagship, which was the first wine we started making in 1995, named in honor of my father, John Daniel Jr. So it is called the J. Daniel Cuvée, and it is a cuvée. It started out as a cuvée in the early years of Merlot and Cabernet, and now it is a cuvée of small lots of Cabernet Sauvignon coming from 3 different vineyards, including our home vineyard. It's a very lovely wine. You know, if you can't speak highly of your children, you're worthless. So, so there we are. So,
And it's almost a classic sort of Bordeaux blend, isn't it? With the Cabernet and Merlot, both, you know, the structure and the softness from the Merlot and the richness. I don't know which year you're drinking there. Have you really opened the 1995?
I have not opened the 1995 today. I opened the current vintage, which is a baby, and so it's the 2017.
Right.
And I see how the babies are doing as we go along, you know, from time to time. It is not any longer a Bordeaux blend. It is 100% Cabernet. And at the same time, you know, our winemaker is a wonderful man who I've been working with for 25 years, named Philippe Milka. And Philippe and I, you know, met when he was doing a stage at Dominus years and years.
Fantastic.
And so we have a fabulous communication about wine that we want to make. And the style of wine we try to make is one of elegance and finesse and beautiful integration and stunning finish. So that, and for a straight Cabernet, it's interesting because I think that it really presents itself more as a classic Bordeaux blend than a straight 100% Cabernet Sauvignon.
Well, that's exciting, and the 2017 is the latest release, and it's available widely, I hope, there in America. I'm just going to share with you what I've pulled out. You know, a summer drink, lightly chilled at the moment, but it's our the Taylor Fladgate 20-year-old. So this is my choice for this evening, to have a little bit of aged tawnies. So I want to raise my glass to you, Robin, and I want to say congratulations for everything you've done. You've been a great pioneer, provided great leadership, and I want to raise my glass of 20-year-old in thanks to you and for everything that you've done, and particularly for your help with the Porto Protocol and for coming on this talk this evening. Robin, it is so nice to spend some time with you. Cheers and good luck and good health.
Good luck and good health to you too, Adrian. It was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin. Take care.
Take care.